We are live, coming here with a brand new Stir the Pod podcast show. I'm your host, Trevor, and tonight we're joined by Alex. Alex, how you doing tonight?
Yo, yo, yo.
And it's just us, the two-man crew. What else is new? Alex, I'm a little disappointed it's just us, but, we're holding the fort down. What else is new? But we are here, Legends Tour, Cara Maria. You guys have been asking for this podcast for a long time. And, I didn't do that much research because I kind of know Cara pretty well. But just kind of like looking at her bio, 19 eliminations, 13-6 record. I mean, you look at her last, what was it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seasons she's made the final in, winning one of them. I mean, she's up there for GOAT talk for female competitors of all time. I'm going to say it.
I think she absolutely is. I think she's one of the best challengers, one of the best characters. Like the arc of Cara, which we'll get into, is very interesting to follow. I feel like there's several different distinct stages of Cara, some more likable than others. But this is a big one. Like, we don't do Legends tours all the time. We pick them carefully. And I'm not going to take away anything that Adam did on the Anissa Legends tour, because that was awesome. But that was a punishment. That was a joke of a Legends tour, basically. And I say that to say that Cara Maria is our first legitimate female legend that we've done on the tour. We've done a few guys in the past, but I think Cara is a really, really good first female to pick, like a legit female to pick, because she is, like you said, in the GOAT discussion. She's a fun person to talk about. She is on All-Stars 4 right now, so she's like back in the challenge fold current day. So I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, 19 eliminations, 13 wins. I mean, she has $602,000 money won. I mean, she's legit, and I can't wait to dive in. First question I have for you: what is your opinion of Cara? Is it somebody you like? Is it somebody you don't like? Just kind of give me through that, because I feel like me and you might be on the same page of kind of this most recent era of Cara we don't like, but let's hear it.
I mean, that's a great question. Great place to start. I personally, where I'm at, just like, do I like her or not, is the last time she was on the show, War of the Worlds 2, did not like her. I think a lot of people did not like her that season, how kind of miserable she was, annoying she was the whole time. But as time has gone on since that season, and we've gone like 6 or 7 seasons without her, like, I miss her. I want her back, like, desperately almost. And like, that's why it's nice seeing her on All Stars, because I hope she comes back to this season, because it's like, yes, she was annoying on War of the Worlds 2, but she's so much better and so much more interesting than like Big T. Somebody named Raven was on last season. Mariah, like Olivia, like people who are just kind of boring. Cara is not boring. Even when I did not like her, I never found her boring. So like, I guess where I'm at now is I did not like her the most recent time I saw her, but I want her back. What about you?
Yeah, and I would agree. I think without a doubt, she's one of the best, competitors. I think what sucks is her last couple seasons, I feel like it was the Pauly effect on her. And that's
Yes.
kind of like, I correct me if I'm wrong, I think I even gave an LVP of Pauly up Cara's ass or something, like so far up Cara's ass or something like
Yes.
that. Yeah, like, I mean, that kind of like changed the perspective that I had. Like, I always thought Cara, she was always the underdog, always like that gritty person, free agents, she breaks her wrist and still wants to look like compete. Like, that's the Cara we love to see. And then kind of like the last era that we got of her, like, I just felt like, and I don't know if she was like putting on for the cameras or whatever, I just felt like I just wasn't a fan. I don't know. And now that you talked about it, we've gotten some time away without Cara. We want her back again. So
Yeah.
But,
And so I think here's how I personally think about like the stages of Cara. and I know we'll get into like every season that she's done and everything, but I personally think about it in like 4 or 5 different stages. The first stage being like the weird horse pirate girl who's like the underdog and like are always getting picked on. She kind of evolves out of that stage to like a good challenger who can just never get over the hump. And then she just like gets better and better to kind of this third evolution of Cara, which is like one of, if not probably the best, like active girl who was always in the mix. Like Laurel was always kind of in her corner, but like Laurel didn't do as many seasons as Cara. So Cara kind of evolves to like basically the best female in the power rankings, like every season she was on. And then she kind of evolves into this most recent stage, which is like miserable Cara, blah, blah, blah. But I say the most recent stage, but like we said, that was like 5, 6 years ago at this point. So
Yeah.
it's like that was the last stage that we saw her, but it would be awesome to see like a different stage of Cara where, let's say, I don't know if she's on season 40 or not, but let's say she does it and it's like the next stage of Cara is like veteran, oldest person on the season, like still good, still in shape, fun to hang around. Like she kind of she kind of does like what Bananas has done these last few seasons, where like he's coming on, you can tell he's not taking it as seriously. But, like he could still win any given daily, any given elimination. Like I would love to see kind of that be like the next stage of Cara's career.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I want to add in Joe Salt's comment. We didn't know what we had until we lost her. I'd rather watch World of Worlds 2 Cara than fucking Colleen or Olivia. I agree. And,
Yeah.
it's kind of like one of those things where, you just didn't realize, like, there are some people that are staples of the show and you just need them constantly on. And she's one of them, I feel like. And, especially these last few seasons, they've been very, you know, bad. I'll
Mhm.
say, I'll just flat out say it. Even seeing her last season, she wasn't even on it, but when she came in as a vet, like, oh shit, like it's Cara, like that fire me up. So anything else we want to talk about before we kind of go into each season?
Um, no, I get the one other thing is I do think it's just very underrated. Her We talk about like her most recent like stage of Cara, her most recent season that she did. She trying to look. She made the final the last 5 seasons in a row that she did.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
in that era, like Dirty 30 to now, that's incredible. 5 in a row, like there's seasons where like, 3 girls are making a final. Like it's not like the, old 2000s, mid 2000s era of the challenge where 20 people are making a final. Like for Cara to say that her last 5 seasons that she's done, she made the final in all of them and she won one of those 5 seasons, is just incredible. So like there is no, she's past her prime, blah, blah, blah. Like she stopped doing challenges when she was at like her apex mountain, the peak of her powers.
Um, Kind of something crazy, and I don't want to bash Cara though. In those last 5 seasons, and this is crazy, I didn't know this. In her last 5 seasons, like you said, she made all 5 finals, won a
Hmm.
season. She's been in a total. I got to double check, make sure this is right.
Not a
But
lot of eliminations, right?
she's only been in one true elimination, and she lost. One true elimination she lost, but she won 2 redemption houses.
And Dirty 30, who did she lose to elimination?
She lost to, it was her and Marie, and they lost to Nelson and Shane
Oh,
in
Final Reckoning.
Final Reckoning. And then in the redemption, they beat Cam and Kayla.
Gotcha.
And then in Dirty 30, when they went in, she didn't lose. Here's where I'm confused. She lost. I'm trying to remember Dirty 30. She lost, and then her redemption house, she beat out Anissa, Brittany, Jemmy, and Veronica.
Yes. Yeah.
So, like, what's crazy is, think about this, Alex. Take out those 5 seasons. Only one elimination counted in there, and she's still 13-6, or it would be 13-5 or whatever in eliminations.
Hmm.
That just shows her path in the beginning of her career. Like, she was getting tossed in every
Yeah.
single. which is crazy. Um, but I didn't really realize, and I guess that comes with the whole vet, move or whatever, where you kind of earn your stripes and you don't see eliminations as often as
And
you used.
I think she just became a better player of the
Oh
game.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
early in her career, she had no confidence, nobody on her side. Like she's gonna see a lot of eliminations, and she won most of them.
Well, I think one of the craziest things about her, and I'll just bleed right into Fresh Meat too, is we were even lucky to see more than one season of her. I mean, how
Yeah,
often do you see a rookie get eliminated at episode 1 and come back not just to do like 2, 3, 4, like how many seasons has she done? Like 12? Like it's pretty impressive. So yeah, Fresh Meat too. You know, I remember watching that, doing the combine. Great episode. If you haven't watched the combine episode, please watch it. And they're just kind of like going through. I'll take the tall chick, Kenny says. You know, great season. And Darrell gets the first pick in the draft.
yeah,
And not to mention, Darrell won Fresh Meat 1. So, I mean, you're just like, oh, God, Darrell's going to run this house again. Him and Cara go home episode 1. I mean, you look at the pass list without knowing how the season's going, like, that's got to be a top 2 team in that house.
yes.
It's hard to go back now because you know what the future, but like on paper, that team is loaded.
I think if you put that season with the pairings as they were into a simulation 100 times, I think Darrell and Cara going home first happens maybe one time. Like it
No,
doesn't. That's a highly improbable thing that happened. Like you said, her and Bananas are kind of presidents of the go home first elimination, end up having an awesome challenge career club.
yeah,
Like it just doesn't happen a lot. And when you say Cara and Bananas both did, like it makes it seem like maybe it does, but like it really doesn't. Like those are like really the biggest two examples of it. And she didn't even like. I remember the first episode of Fresh Meat 2, the only episode she was on. I remember she like got mad at Wes because like she was going in and they were partying all night and everything. But aside from that, it's not like she made a huge splash.
no,
And it's like, oh, we have to get this girl back. I think they just kind of, it was the next season in Cutthroat. They brought her back. Like she didn't make a huge splash or anything. And like you said, Darrell and Cara, like a great duo on paper that just like, I don't know. I mean, they lost to Jill and Pete,
yeah,
right?
hmm,
They were just like a victim of, I think they were just a victim of Wes's political game. They
yeah,
even, I mean, obviously that season was Wes versus Kenny, but they even say it, I think, in episode 1 where they go around voting and everybody raises their hand for Jill and Pete, and Kenny is like, I didn't realize how fucking strong of a stranglehold Wes had on this house. And he did for the first few episodes, and Darrell and Carr just happened to be a victim of that.
yeah, absolutely. No, it's just it to me, it's crazy how Cara gets a second chance going back into Cutthroat, and the rest is history. But like with that team on paper, it's holy cow, like
Yeah.
that seems unbelievable. So yeah, I mean that's really it from Fresh Meat too. I would love to talk all day. I know Fresh Meat, me and you are big Fresh Meat 2 fans.
Yeah.
Would love for them to complete the trilogy one day. I know Andy and Adam don't want Fresh Meat 3, which is such a shame, but it is what it is. So,
Yeah.
uh,
They don't like it.
so moving on, Cutthroat. Uh, what you think about Cutthroat as a season? I'm just kind of curious.
As a season or for Cara specifically?
Just as a whole, like real quick, bleeding into Kara.
I think Cutthroat is a good B+ season. I think it's a victim of the seasons that it was surrounded by.
Mhm.
Right after Fresh Meat 2, right before Rivals, like really good seasons surrounding it. But I think again, it's like you compare Cutthroat, what we thought maybe at the time was like not a great season, to any of the past 8 seasons that we've had of the challenge, and you're like, holy shit, this is 10 times better. So I think Cutthroat's solid, and I think we've talked before about the format of it and having 3 big ass teams is like an interesting wrinkle that we hope they bring back at some point. So I like Cutthroat.
I think Cutthroat is one of the most like slept on seasons. Like people just forget about.
Yeah.
Like I feel like we don't like obviously we all know the one scene that everybody talks about in Cutthroat, and we don't even need to talk about it. But like I just feel like this is like one season that I feel like I haven't really like like I feel like if there's one season from my challenge experience that I know like the back of my hand, it's probably Rivals 3 or Rivals 2.
Okay.
Like this season just like slides under the radar for me for whatever reason. I don't know. Like I remember it in check, but like besides that, there's only so much. So we talk about Cara beating Mandy in an elimination. Um,
So Cara Cara on Cutthroat. I mean, obviously this season was like pivotal for her because like if Cara comes on Cutthroat, goes home week 1, week 2, she's probably not getting called back.
no,
And not only did she make the final, I think we got to talk about Abram. She has this relationship with Abram, which carries on for a few more seasons. Um, and so I think you leave Cutthroat and you're not necessarily thinking Cara's like the best overall competitor just yet. She did make the final, but like she beat Mandy. She didn't like show off a ton of like athletic chops per se, but you're like, there's something here, and she's fucking loony enough to go for a guy like Abram. Like maybe she could be a staple on the challenge. You're not. I don't think you're sold on it, but I think you know that there's like a good probability that there's something there.
I mean, yes. There was an episode during the season. It might have been around like Halloween time where they all like dressed up and stuff, and like her and Abe. Somebody says, and I forget who they cut to. It might have been. I don't even know. It might have been Bananas. Like before he went home, but like they like cut to both of them like dressed up as pirates, and they're just like these guys are fucking nuts. Like
Yeah.
I think it says like there's like a scene where they're just like drunk like. Oh, God, it just brings me back to the good old days of the challenge and how it was just completely off the rails.
I think Cara and Abe were like putting paint on each other's faces, like rubbing it
Oh,
on their
yeah,
on their head.
it was exactly. Yes, exactly. I think that's what I'm thinking of. So,
Not to be confused with Camilla doing that on X's.
God. All right, so moving on from Cutthroat, we got Rivals. So Rivals, how about her partner, Laurel? Her and Laurel as partners. And, I feel like this could be a common theme of the entire night is her and Laurel, kind of like the love-hate relationship. Even still today, it's kind of hard to see like where they both are. But in Rivals, I mean, their team is stacked.
Yeah.
I mean, how many wins? They only had 1 win, which I'm kind of surprised by, but 2 elimination wins. And then a second place finish for the season. So, I mean, they beat Camilla and Teresa and Jasmine and John A. Like, I mean, a pretty good season for them.
Yeah, I think Rivals kind of cements Cara's status as like, to me, it cements her status as the stage 1 of Cara, where she's like always like the underdog and getting picked on because she literally got fucking soda dumped on her head. There was a huge fight at the end where the whole house was just kind of anti-Cara and like picking on her. But it also cemented her status as just like someone who was going to be on a dozen challenge seasons. Like she was that interesting. She was that fun to watch. And like you said, it kind of started. I mean, it started in Cutthroat, but it really solidified the Cara and Laurel storyline. And I think the most interesting challengers for us to talk about on these podcasts are the ones who have like strong relationships with other challengers, whether it's like, hooking up with or rivalries or friendships or whatever. And like the Cara and Laurel thing is, a fucking roller coaster in itself. But I think Rivals just kind of, it shows that Cara is a good competitor. Her and Laurel are kind of getting along. And so she leaves Rivals with 3 seasons, right? Because that was the 3rd season. So she leaves it with 3 seasons, 2 silver medals, because she got second on Cutthroat, right? The great
Correct.
team did.
Yes.
So like you have that early exit with Thorell, but like you have 2 silver medals. You've only lost that one elimination. You've won 3 since then. Like you're everybody's buying stock on Cara at that point.
Absolutely. This basically solidified her as a challenge staple to have, I think. I mean, like you said, it wasn't just a fluky silver and now back-to-back silver. And then Rivals, they lost to Evelyn and Paula. Was that the team?
Yeah.
The girls? Yeah, yeah. And then Bananas and Tyler won for the guys.
Yeah.
Okay. So, like, I mean, pretty respectable people across the board to begin with. And it's just like, we need to get her back for the next season. And obviously, that next season was X's.
Yep. With
Which,
8.
which you're big X's. Are you X's one or your X's two? Right? That's one of your favorite seasons.
X's 2 is like one of my goats. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But her and Abe, I mean, another. You kind of talked about it already with Laurel as like, where the hell do they stand? I mean, X's another situation with Abe where it even bleeds into bloodlines with Abe too. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy the storylines these people have. But her and Abe in X's one, they go home by Emily and Ty, which Emily, me with Emily, I think Emily might be the GOAT, like female of all time, straight up. Ty, on the other hand, is a piece of shit. Like that dude is one of the worst competitive. We did a worst competitors Mount Rushmore, right?
Yes.
I mean, he was definitely on it for sure.
Was he?
We might have to check out the stat department on that, but he must have been. That dude is so bad.
Are you sure you're not thinking of Tyree?
No.
Without me? Remember they changed Tyree's spelling in All Stars?
No. Ty is the guy who always wears his shirt backwards.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, that dude sucks.
Well, they beat Cara and Abe.
I know. But
so if we're picking nits here in terms of Cara's resume and everything, could you make a case that X's just her season on X's is like maybe the least memorable season that she did?
I think it's the next season.
Oh, is that Battle of the Season?
Yes.
Okay. I like when I think of Cara on Battle of the X's, I just don't think of much. I do remember there was like I think Cara and Abe were actually the only pair on that season who were actually like dating at the time. They weren't actually exes. But like, do you have it? Like, what episode did they go home? Like, they didn't last super long, but they weren't like the first team home.
They went home episode 5.
Episode 5, yeah. So like, you watch for 5 weeks and she's gone, and I feel like she didn't make a huge splash while she was there. They didn't win an elimination, right? They just lost.
No,
so
they just lost.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's fine. I'm glad we had her, but I don't think it was like the best Cara season.
No. I think the next season was another forgettable season by her. Battle of the Seasons. I think I know what you're about. You just say it. I know where you're going with it.
What?
Are you going to talk about the Hall Brawl?
That's part of it.
Yeah, I mean, I know Adam's boy did really good in that Hall Brawl.
Didn't Wes's head end up ringing the bell?
God, I think so. Big Easy.
Well, so I mean this in Battle of the Seasons was Cara's earliest exit at that time and maybe ever. Did she ever go home before that?
Episode 3.
See, it's like a weird thing where when I think about Battle of the Seasons, Cara actually does come to my mind just because I think about like the fresh meat team. They have the yellow jerseys. They came in late. Cara, I think, even had like the weird thing on her jersey. Do you remember that? Where it was like it was supposed to be another girl maybe, and so they had like her jersey is like a white rectangle with like black text on top of it that says Cara Maria instead of like everybody else's who just had like text on the jersey because they had to like do it super late or something. I remember that very distinctly. And I just remember, the first 3-4 episodes, it was always like Team Austin, Team Fresh Meat in every single elimination. So I mean, I know she went home early, so did all of their team.
Yeah.
But for some weird reason, I just think of like Cara coming in late on that challenge.
Yeah, which her coming in late bleeds into the next season. A little domino effect. And I think this is where business picks up for Cara, my opinion. I think
Okay.
it's hard for me to say to this point if this was her first era, because I almost want to say like her first like season is in its own category, and then the other kind of blend together, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. So if we're kind of going on eras, this is kind of like era 3, which Rivals 2, she's not even a cast member. Naomi goes home, and Cook needs a partner, and Cara becomes Cook's partner, which I don't know how they're rivals, but I guess half these rivals are made up anyway. So Cook and Cara, very interesting team. One moment of this elimination in first episode she's in when they go into an elimination. Something that that I think of, they went against Anastasia and Jessica. This was the one where they were kind of upside down and they're cutting the rope or whatever. But if you remember, Anastasia like passed out.
Yeah.
They didn't lower Cara and Cook, and Cara and Cook are just sitting up there for like an hour, and Cook is pissing on the rope. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was Cook that peed?
Yeah, I think both of them did. I think Cook was the first person, and then Cara's like, "Fuck it, if my partner's doing it, I'm doing it too," or something.
God.
But a team
So
on paper, like I like this team a lot. I like Cook a lot. I hope to see her back. I know there were
yeah.
some rumblings of her coming back. Not sure if we're actually getting that, but
Well,
I
so
always thought she was a good competitor. And then with her and Cara, I think it was whenever she came in, episode 2 or 3, Paula was the one who said it. Oh shit, it's Cara. Like, who wants to see this girl? Kind of thing. Like, I agree. I think she's a good competitor at this point, and her and Cook on a team is pretty damn good.
yeah, I think it's funny that you mentioned like this season kind of being like a turning the chapter, like turning to a new era for Cara, because I was thinking about this before and like all the different eras of Cara. I think my favorite season of Cara might be Rivals 2. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't exactly know why, but I think it has to do with like I think Rivals 2 kind of just like perfectly captures what Cara was like at the time and also like her whole career, where like she wasn't on the season, she's a replacement. People aren't excited to see her. Like she always is kind of the underdog. People don't love her. And then when she's on, you kind of you basically have Emily and Paula pegged as like the number 1 team from day 1. And then when Cara joins Cook, they're basically pegged to be like the number 2 team on the power rankings. And that ends up being the standing. So like Cara Maria gets second place. Like that's kind of what she ended up doing a lot. And like if it wasn't for a really, really stacked team ahead of them, they would have probably won it all. And so
Absolutely.
I just like thinking back to Rivals 2 and Cara on it, because it's like it kind of just captures everything about Cara as a challenger over her entire career.
Yeah. Who else did they beat? John A and Nani in that another elimination. So 2 elimination wins that season as well. So just padding the stats. And then we get into one of our favorite seasons, and I think it's hard for me to say this is her best season, especially when she didn't win. But I think this is like I think this was the season that showed everybody, like everybody kind of knew Cara was like a tough competitor, all in kind of person. And this was the season that kind of solidified it, said, hey, like this is not even a good competitor. This is like a top 5, top 10 competitor. Wouldn't you agree?
Free agents, right? Is where
Correct.
we're at. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's similar to Rivals too in from the standpoint of like it shows that she's like one, like you said, one of the best girls in the game at the time of all time. Like really good, can win eliminations, but she doesn't even make the final. Like she has kind of this going back to what we talked about before. Laurel. Laurel is like standing in front of her. Laurel is like preventing her from winning championships, making finals, and like you kind of it's kind of like the mid 2000s when like Peyton Manning and the Colts would always make the playoffs and then like always lose to Brady. And it's like, can Peyton ever get over the hump? And you knew that it was going to happen for him. You knew that it was going to happen for Cara Maria, but you're probably like, it might take, a few more seasons for it to happen. And it's just like prime time for like coming close, but not all the way.
But I think this season for me, I mean, this season I feel like everybody was against her. They threw her in countless times. I mean, she won 3 eliminations. She breaks her wrist during the daily or whatever. And Bananas just like I think it was Bananas and was it Nani?
True.
Had the
Oh
vote
yeah,
or whatever.
Nani.
And I think like Nani was like, how can we do this? And Bananas was basically like, I mean, we're just putting down a dead dog at this point or something like that. And then she went home in the wrecking wall one where they're smashing their fists against the wall, climbing up.
Mm-hmm.
Um, down goes Jordan. Esque.
It was like prime underdog Cara era
Yeah.
at this point.
No, absolutely. It sucks like that she went home from that elimination. Obviously, you can only do so much with a broken wrist when you're casted up.
So what eliminations did she win that year?
She won a balls in versus Jessica. Oppenheimer versus Latoya, and then Looper against Naya. So I'm trying to remember those. Oppenheimer, not to be confused with the movie.
Didn't Adam give that like a 1 star?
Yeah, Adam in movies like here's something STP Nation. If you ever get a movie request from Adam or a review from Adam, like you might as well just throw it right out the window and not even listen to
Just
it.
do whatever the exact opposite is.
I think he said Oppenheimer was a 1 out of 5. I think he said Dodgeball wasn't a funny movie. He even said The Godfather sucked. Like, who is this guy? So
It's just sad.
Just sad. Yeah. So, like I said, Cara wins 3 eliminations, and then finally, after that season, we go to Bloodlines. Which Bloodlines, she's paired up with Jamie. What's your opinions of Jamie?
I mean, he looks like a me character from Wii. When you kind of can create your own little guy and like a cartoon, like that's kind of what Jamie's face looks like. Jamie kind of sucks. I mean, he's a challenge champ, give him that. But like, whenever you have whenever you're shooting the shit with your boys in the backyard, having a few beers, and you're like, what are the least impressive challenge rings of all time? You always mention Jamie.
I mean, talk about somebody who was carried the entire season. Yeah, Jamie sucks. He really does. Tough.
But I think Cara on this season was maybe I don't even think she was at her apex mountain yet, but she was really good. And with the cast that was around her, it was a weird season because Bloodlines had like guy teams, girl, guy. Obviously everybody had, some sort of relationship with their partner. They split up the teams. Like it was just a weird season. It was a bad season. But I think you kind of got the feeling that Cara was if we were doing the pod at the time and we were doing the preseason power rankings, I think Cara is like top 3, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that season, who she beat in elimination would have been Bananas and Jamie, number 1.
And Vince, you mean?
Vince, sorry. Yeah. I don't know. Jamie, sorry. Bananas and Vince as power ranking number 1, and they beat them in the elimination.
Yeah, and it was like you start Bloodlines, and you kind of think like this is a good opportunity for Cara. Like this
Yeah.
is one of the seasons that she's lost a couple heartbreakers. This is a chance for her to win, and she finally does. She finally gets over the hump. The teams that she beat in the final, Corey and Mitch and Jenna and the Giraffe from Toys R Us, like not the best teams, not the best competition. Like I said, not the best season, but she does finally get over the hump and becomes a challenge champion. Do you have what season was this for her? Was this like number 7, 8?
This was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th season.
Okay. So
Right.
nowadays, I feel like a lot of people do 8 seasons, don't win. But I feel like back in that time frame, it was like if you're doing 7, 8 seasons and you still haven't won, like it is kind of like a Peyton Manning type thing, getting over the hump, and she finally did this time.
Yeah, I also think, not to just completely talk Bloodlines, but this final sucked as well. This was the one in Germany where they
It was
were
like
wearing
kids, yeah,
yeah,
suit briefcases.
so dumb. So moving on, Invasion of the Champs. Interesting season. Obviously for the first half of the season, she's not even in the game. But she's solidified as the champ. And what's even different about this season, I guess, I feel like you always cut to, if it's like champs versus pros or champs versus stars or the beginning of a new season, they always start off with the fresh champion is always on. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Where they show the first, like Bananas winning free agents. He was the first person shown in Bloodlines as like the first champ, the defending champ.
Okay.
This was Cara's moment. Invasion of the Champs. There's how many champs there? She is the defending champ, though, of the season before.
Well, technically, it was Bananas.
Oh, Rivals 3 was before. Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
But she came back. Whatever. She's returning. There wasn't. I guess. Was there a female champion that season in Rivals 3?
Well, yes, but $0.
Correct.
They showed the graph.
But to my point, like this was a big moment for Cara. She stacked with who was the Invasion people? It was Laurel, it was Ashley Kelsey, Camilla,
And
her.
Cara.
Was there one more or was there only 4? There's 4? Okay. So I mean, all pretty good. I mean, Ashley Kelsey, that was kind of a toss up.
So aside from Ashley, I think that was a season where you see it in like the off-season promos and like they're all walking in and you're like, it is kind of to your point, like I think your point, like kind of like Cara has arrived. Like she is one of the top dogs. She's walking in with Laurel, like standing next to Laurel, and you don't necessarily think like, oh, Laurel is so much better than Cara. You think of them kind of on the same playing field. And I think Invasion really is a season where you just for champions, for challengers, whatever the other group was called, like you just kind of have to gloss over it in terms of records and what happened. Because like Cara Maria was probably on like 4 episodes. She won an elimination, she lost one, and it's just like the format was stupid. Everything about it was just so fucked up that like I think the biggest thing this season was for her was like what we just said. Like it solidified her as like being one of the best girls in the game. Like I don't think you care necessarily that she lost another elimination just because like they fucking put her up against Laurel. They fucked up the whole execution of that season.
Yeah, the execution of this season was so bad. But I don't know. I feel like that season she lost balls in to
Laurel, right?
To Laurel, yeah. But beat Ashley in that pole wrestle. God, it was like one of those seasons where I really wanted her to beat Laurel, and that's almost like another Peyton versus Brady thing. I feel like I don't know.
Yeah.
Like we talk about her getting her first ring, but it was always like Laurel in her way. Bloodlines, she didn't have to go through Laurel.
Yeah, and then Laurel comes back and gets in her way again in Invasion.
Yeah. So moving on next season, I don't really want to talk that much about this. I don't think we really should. Champs versus Pros reunited with Darrell, gets the win though at the end.
Yeah, good for
I
her.
will say that. Good comeback story. But now we're back to Dirty 30. Which Dirty 30, I think Dirty 30 began the year of the marathon for the challenge, where episodes are like 45 episodes. It's like a
Yeah.
year to watch. But Dirty 30, Cara obviously being another face of the show, she really didn't see that many. I don't think, like I said earlier, she didn't see an elimination this season until she got to the Redemption House. I think she finished last in the daily and got sent in automatically. And then her Redemption House, right?
I don't even think it was that. I think it was another team won and got to pick a single girl to send to the Redemption House. And so she was basically sent there because of how big of a target she was.
Gotcha. So she goes to the house and she beats Anissa, Brittany, Jemmy, and Veronica, which, I mean, I feel like anybody could. But
Yeah, it's not you're not beating Murderers Row, but it is still like you beat 4 people at once. Like you go into that challenge, whatever it was, with like a 1 in 5 shot at coming out.
yeah. This season, another thing that stands out to me was the final with how shitty all the skydiving was. Do you remember her just bawling her eyes out to not do the skydive?
In the final challenge, right?
Yeah. Like before the
remember
final
that.
started. No, she was like crying hysterically.
Was it worse than Nate?
Well, yeah, Nate didn't jump. At least Cara jumped.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And then on top of that, didn't Jordan break his leg?
It fucking crash landed in a
I mean,
final.
how does that even happen? Like you spend all this money on the challenge to make sure, everything's safe, blah, blah, blah. And break a guy's leg.
That's awesome. He won a final on 2 limbs.
It's pretty impressive. So picks up second. Also, wasn't this the season where nobody knew who won until the reunion show? Where they like pulled up the pieces?
Yes.
Another thing so fucking stupid. Like we got to the end of the finale and we still didn't know the winner. Because it was all time based.
It took us like 23 weeks to figure out who won.
Just ridiculous.
Yes.
Then we got Vendettas, which I fucking hate this season.
Whoa.
Well, I don't know. I just think for me, this was the turning point of the show where it just sucks.
Okay.
I don't know. What do you want to talk about on Vendettas? She didn't see an elimination. She won Vendettas.
Yeah. Ring number 2. I think this is a very important season for Cara to get that second ring, to get it all by herself. This was the first solo championship they ever did.
Yeah.
And it would have been nice to see her get a couple elimination wins along the way. But I don't know. I feel like when I think of Vendettas, I do always think of like her crossing the finish line. They're playing "Fight." This is my fight song. Like it was like a kind of fun thing seeing Cara win, and I think this was maybe like you could make the case this was her Apex Mountain because she was probably at the peak of her powers, and she did end up winning. And a lot of those seasons can get so fluky late where you either win or you get second place or you lose this elimination, whatever. Like she was able to win it all by herself, get that second ring, really submit herself as like she had been the best girl doing the challenge for a while, but like submit herself as like being one of the best females of all time.
Yeah, I mean, was this the season in the finale where they're running up like the castle?
Yes.
Jeez, just another terrible season.
And I mean, not to kind of derail, but absolutely screwed Zach. Zach should have also been a winner of that season. I think he had been winning most of the final, and I mean, he was the first solo winner season runner up of all time. So like he should have been the first place for the guys.
Yeah.
But I don't. But like when I think about Cara on Vendettas, I think about her crossing the finish line, but that's kind of about it. Like I don't think about her pulling off different moves. Obviously, she didn't win in any eliminations, so maybe it's not her best overall season of all time, but I think it was definitely an important one for her.
She won $370K from this season. Whew. It's a pretty good paycheck. So then we got 3 more seasons left. We got Final Reckoning, War of the Worlds, and War of the Worlds 2. So, Final Reckoning, she's with Marie, which Marie, we had Marie on the pod, right?
Friend of the program.
Yeah, friend of the program.
During that season, I think.
It was during this season.
Yeah.
God, remember, what was the line I said to her and she got like offended by? Like, I always feel like Johnny was your little brother or something like that.
Yes. You said like big sister, little brother relationship, and she got all mad. She was like, Johnny's like 8 years older than me.
Smirk. Do your research, kids. In a pod. But her and Marie, I feel like they hated each other during the season. There was like, I think there was one moment where they like loved each other and then it just derailed again. Correct me if I'm wrong, right?
Yeah, well, I think they hated each other early. They kind of got on the same page, and then they just hated each other in the final. And I think it was more like the stress from running a final together. I think this season, like it, a couple things. It showed some glimpses of like what miserable Cara is like, which we ended up getting in War of the Worlds 2. And I think she was just miserable to like be with Marie. And it wasn't a good look on Cara, I guess. And I think this was an important season for the Cara Bananas relationship, because up to this point, Cara and Bananas had early in their careers, they were, rivals, like on opposite sides of the fences. I feel like in the past few seasons before this, they had become kind of like, what's the word? What's the word I'm looking for? Like not mean or nice to each other. They were just like mutual respect, I guess.
Más o menos.
Yeah, más o menos. And then I think this season is really where they kind of became like partners, like friends, because the rest of the house, what were they called? Like the lavender
girls,
the lavender ladies. Yeah, I think Bananas called them the lavender losers. But the lavender ladies really took up so much space in that house that it kind of pushed Bananas and Cara into a friendship like out of necessity. And so that was, which really only lasted maybe for a couple seasons. But I think that was an important season for Bananas and Cara. And they make the final, right? And they end up getting 4th place.
Yep.
The only girl team to make the final.
Yeah, and I think one other important note, this is kind of the third era that I have of Cara. This is where I start to hate Cara down the stretch.
Yeah.
This was the season, correct me if I'm wrong, this is when she meets Paulie. I think Paulie was on Final Reckoning.
Yes.
And this is where I think, and this is just me, I think very Puppet Master-esque, Paulie pulling the strings on Cara.
Yes, and it's interesting because Paulie and Natalie on that season, didn't they lose like 3 eliminations? And they somehow were able to fucking find their way to the final. It would be like a 14 seed making like the national championship. Like for them to kind of like make it all the way there, and I think that wasn't it didn't end up meaning much because Cara and Paulie didn't, or Paulie and Natalie didn't like win or anything. But I think it meant something for like their exposure to each other, and just like Paulie getting to like talk to Cara again and like hang around her again, and that kind of led to their really, I think, relationship kind of taking off the next season.
Yeah. So should we talk about War of the Worlds now?
Yeah.
War of the Worlds. She's partnered with one of my favorite competitors of all time. Can we please get Theo back?
I've been saying that.
I mean, people are sleeping on Theo. After he got his eye injury, we need him back. I love Theo.
Theo's awesome.
I know. Fifth place during this. I think this was a season where her and Theo kind of just dominated. I think they had like 4 or 5, maybe even 6 daily wins. Like they were the team to beat. Obviously, they didn't see an elimination, and then they finished 5th place. So another like respectable finish. I will say though, now that I'm looking at it,
well, they split up. Remember?
Yeah, they split up late, right? It was like right before the finale.
No, it was like they.
I thought it was like episode like maybe it was like that just over the halfway point. It definitely
it was like 7 teams left, and then they split it up. So it was like 7 guys and 7 girls. I think.
Okay. I will say this, like I'm also thinking about this, and we gave her a lot of credit for her last 5 seasons or whatever making the finale. I mean, how many people make the finale these days? I think we're getting like I don't know. I think the perfect number for the finale for doing teams, it's 6 total people. It's 3 teams. That's it.
Yes, I agree.
I think you do the classic. Once you get to the final 4, you do the classic location change, and then one more elimination, and then you do the finale.
Yes.
That's just me. I think that's the chef's kiss of the challenge.
And before you do the last elimination, you have all remaining people in the hot tub late at night, kind of looking out on the mountain, and they're like, you know what? Some of us are going to have to climb that in a couple days.
So dumb. And then as soon as they say that, it cuts to like a flash forward or whatever of
yes,
let's go.
that's the commercial right after that.
Exactly. Yeah. War of the Worlds. I think this was the season that I'm thinking of. Either this or War of the Worlds 2. Wasn't this the season with like the hardest finale ever though?
No, that was every season.
No, God damn it. No, but seriously,
was serious?
Yes, wasn't there one in the desert that was like it was seriously like legit like
that was War of the Worlds.
Yeah, so this season, yeah, War of the Worlds. Yeah, that finale like didn't like was it Ninja passed out like on the bike? Or was that War of the Worlds 2?
No, War of the Worlds, Georgia did. And Maddie.
Yeah, like that finale was tough.
I think it was 100 miles.
Woof.
I think they had the counter going, not to be confused with the 100-hour final.
The 100-hour final, like you could sleep 24 hours.
And didn't they kick it off with like a 2-hour car ride?
Yes, like this starts the timer. All right, everybody get to the cars.
Can you imagine they're in the 2-hour car ride on the way to like actually start it, and that you see the aux and it's just Stir the Pod playing?
Okay, no. God. All right, should we round this out? War of the Worlds 2?
Let's do it. Let's wrap it up.
This season, War of the Worlds 2. I think one moment in War of the Worlds 2 we have to bring up was probably the worst moment of Cara's challenge career. Is her just trashing Jordan and Tori, the proposal.
Oh yeah.
Like that was such a bad look.
It was.
But in reality,
was she right?
Was she right? In the moment, you can't say like you can't do that in the moment. Like, could you imagine like seeing your best friend propose and be like, "You're a fucking idiot." Like,
and it was like, I mean, that had to have been like episode 12-ish. So
yeah.
we had already gotten like a dozen episodes of Cara just like being miserable at the time. So you're already kind of mad and annoyed with Cara, and then it's like, oh, Jordan is fucking proposing to somebody on the challenge, and it's like everybody's emotional and cheering, and then you cut to Cara, and you're just like, can you not be fucking miserable for 1 second in this entire season? And she's joking about it, whatever, and like regardless of if she may have been right about their relationship, just for her to do that in the moment was just such a bad look.
Oh, terrible look. Like I think Paulie said something like, "Let them have their moment, Cara." Like Jesus Christ. And she was just kind of like sitting there, like basically like this, and just like pissed off. And we're just like, bro, like chill out.
So I think this is an important one to call out, though, because I do think on War of the Worlds 2, as easy it is as it was at the time, looking back, whatever, to hate Cara and Paulie on that season, like she did run the show. Like she did, and her and Paulie did run the show. It reminds me kind of Jay on this last season, Jay and Michelle. Like it's easy. I'm not saying like they were fun to root for or anything, but like Cara and Paulie saw an opportunity. The format was a little janky, and they got their troops in line. The Ninjas, Ashleys of the world, and like they ran the show. You never started an episode of War of the Worlds 2 being like, I think Cara might go home, or even might go into elimination. She had the whole house, especially. I mean, once Bananas went home, she had a part in that, so like good for her. But like once Bananas went home, you knew it was Cara's season to kind of run the house, and like she did. It was easy to root against her, but like good for her having that like kind of one season on her resume where she was in charge.
Absolutely. Well, we just went through every season. Where should we go now? MVP, LVP? Or any lasting comments before?
I think we got to go into the future.
Into the future.
Yeah. So I think I kind of touched on this a little bit earlier about like what I want her next stage to be. But what would you say, like realistically? I looked this up. Cara's 37. I thought she was a little younger than that, but she's 37. It's 2024 right now. I don't know if she's on season 40 or not. Let's just pretend season 40 it's not filming right now. What realistically would you like to see from Cara Maria before she is done for good?
I want to see one more full season without Paulie.
Just one?
At least one. I don't know how much she got left in her, Tej, but like I would love to see her. I think she's a great person for the show. I think, I said already, like she's been kind of going downhill for me, but even in those moments of seeing her back recently, All Stars 4, her coming back last season, it's caught my interest, and it's not like the manipulated Cara that I've seen during those 3 seasons. And that's why I like her. Okay. So more consistency with that, I guess.
So do you care if like she wins another ring?
So are you going like, are you basically asking where, if she gets another ring, if she does a few more seasons, where would I rank her, like on the Mount Rushmore?
I guess I'm thinking like fast forward 20 years from now. Cara's been done for however many years, and you think back to Cara, and let's say she never comes back after War of the Worlds 2, you would kind of be like, I wish she would have come back, wish she would
Yeah.
have done this or that. Like, what are those things that you would look back for? Like, for me, I guess my answer would be like, I want Cara to come back to reaffirm herself as like the strongest girl in the game. That's kind of my wish, because I think she still has that in her. I mean, she looks like she's still in great shape, and with some of the people that are doing these seasons, I mean, Big T is still doing the shit. Anissa is like, when she's not at the buffet, she's still on these seasons. Like, Cara has, I think, the ability to come back and like be the best girl in the game. Maybe she is able to win another ring, maybe she's not, but like, that's kind of what I want to see her do, because I think she's had that corner for the last few seasons that she did, but it's just been so long. Her gap has now been 4 or 5 years. So like, I just want her to come back and kind of reclaim that throne.
Yeah, and I think, we talked about it in the beginning of the show, is we don't really have that face or that legend anymore for the females, I feel like. I mean, who's the most recognizable female right now?
I mean,
Like,
is it fucking Nerys?
and,
I
and
don't
that's the
know.
thing. Like, we don't really have that champ. We don't really have the laurels anymore. We don't have I'll even throw Nani out there. We don't even really have like a Nani or a Camilla or a um I don't know who else, like Emily. Like, we need that like I don't know. I just feel like we haven't had a female person dominate like the way some of these girls have in the past.
Yeah.
That's just like Cara dominated, Laurel dominated, Emily dominated. Like it's hard to say Nerys, and I know that maybe it's recency bias. Like, we haven't had so many seasons, but like, I hope Nerys. I want more seasons from Cam, but like, I don't think Cam's gonna do more seasons. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, and I think if we're being optimistic here, I mean, her coming back to All Stars is a good sign. She's back in the challenge fold, and I think, did you stop watching All Stars?
No, I've watched. I've watched.
I think it is like, Cara's been one of the heavy hitters on All Stars, just from like a entertainment, like getting in the drama, getting involved. Like, I wouldn't have been surprised if you told me before this All Stars 4, like, yeah, Cara's back, but like, she's miserable again. She's acting like she doesn't care. She's acting like she's above it. Like, I don't think Cara's doing that. I think she's like having fun with it. She's kind of playing like that bananas role, just like that shit stirrer, joking, but like also wants to win. And I think that's a good sign. I think if she enjoys herself on All Stars, like, that just makes it more likely that she'll come back. And I think another thing is too, in terms of like what we want to see from her, um, is just like, I think you might have mentioned this, is like having Cara post Polly again, and just like that, because like that was when she was at her best, when she
Yeah,
was like a great competitor right before that little fucking elf came into our challenge world. Like, let's just get back to that.
I agree. So, MVP LVP time.
Yeah, let's do it.
Should we ask the chat, or we just doing it, or what do we?
You go first.
Oh, I'm going MVP.
Joe Salt's gone quiet.
All right, MVP LVP time.
Let me ask you one question, just in case anybody wants to give us the order. Not Cara related. Who should our next Legend store be?
Well, I think
I'm
we
sure
should
we're gonna
let.
do it, but
I think we should let the fans decide. I think we still haven't done a CT one, correct?
no, we've been circling it.
I know the problem with the CT one, and we were talking about doing CT tonight. I think we need a 4-man crew for that one.
Okay.
That one is like, I mean, that could be like a 3-hour like director's cut. Like, there could be like out
It's
of
like
control.
a part 1, part 2.
Yeah. It's almost like, like those, like, do you know those people, like your friends, where they try to watch a movie in like one session and they just can't?
Yeah.
They have to watch it in like 5 different ones. It's almost like that.
They have to put it on the chalkboard.
Exactly, and weeks in advance. So we might have to say like, "Hey, we're doing the Legends Tour CT like May 14th,
So
2025."
so
Like,
if the next one is not CT, then what do you think? Do we do another female? Do we do Laurel? Do we
I think
do
Laurel would be an interesting one back to back with Cara. I think CT. I think a Brie Bananas would be interesting. I mean, we did the Bananas one 5 years ago. It
yeah.
was our first Legends Tour. Um, we did Jordan already.
What about like
What about Evelyn?
Evelyn? That would be interessante.
Might be a shorter pod, but like that's kind of like a what if, or Darrell.
Darrell, I was thinking. Darrell would be an interesting one because it doesn't have as many seasons, so I feel like you could just kind of knock it off. And like, I mean, we've done Bananas, Jordan, and West. Like that's kind of a holy trinity, so to speak. So like,
It's also hard for me to just keep, like, I know we were like the Anissa one was obviously a joke. The Tony one was a joke-ish. Like I can only give the Legends to a certain amount of people. Like, it is a disgrace we haven't done CT. Hand up, that's our fault.
well, no, we've been circling it.
Yeah, it's like trying to watch Pulp Fiction and you haven't watched Pulp Fiction, or trying to watch Oceans and you haven't watched Oceans. Like, I feel like that is the pod that we have to do. That's just me.
Yes, but I think to your point, we have to plan that one.
Yeah. All right, MVP LVP time. I'll go first. My MVP is going to be Pirate Era. I just think this is when Cara was at her best. Like, just a nutcase, was still very fucking good and brought a lot to the table. This was the most fun Cara.
Okay.
All right, who you got?
I'm gonna go with Laurel.
Ooh,
Because I
okay.
think Laurel just kind of brings a lot out of Cara. I think it
Yeah.
motivated Cara. I think now in like today's era where Cara kind of sees herself as an equal with Laurel, so she kind of like resents her past and that kind of thing. So I think Laurel is just like if you say Cara Maria and you say who name another challenger, like you might go Abe, you might go Paulie, but like Laurel is right up there with like connections to Cara. And I think she just made a Cara a better challenger overall.
Yeah. LVP, who you got? Or what you got?
I'm gonna go with Paulie.
Oh, you son of a bitch.
I'm gonna go with Paulie. Fucking sucks. Hate him. Borderline ruined a really fun career going. And he just sucks. So I'm going Paulie.
My LVP, and I think it's the only knock on her resume, and I can't believe I'm giving this an LVP, is Fresh Meat 2.
Ooh.
And the only reason why is, I mean, it's her biggest, blemish on her resume. I mean, that was her and Darrell going home first. It doesn't get much worse than that.
Yeah.
So that's my LVP. Honorable mention MVP, elimination wins.
Yeah. I mean, she's the elimination queen.
Is she a puzzle queen too?
Yeah, well, everybody is.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think real quick. Anything with Cara that we haven't mentioned yet? So we did not mention her little thing with Thomas.
Oh, we did forget about that. I meant to bring that up.
Rock, paper, scissors on the bus.
God, Bananas fucked that up so much.
Didn't Bananas have a camera on the bus?
Yeah, it's the little GoPro.
And they I think they stopped letting people do that after that.
Yes. I still think from that season, though, the Bananas and Abe underwater, the
God, I
box.
love that.
It's hilarious.
Doesn't he say, what does he say? It's fancy meeting you here?
Yes.
They're underwater in a challenge.
God, that's all time.
Cara and CT's relationship has always been fun.
I mean, that's the Massachusetts connection. I will say too, I feel like Tej always had a sweet spot for her.
Yeah.
Like always cared about her. Like
She
knew how
was
much she
picked
put
on
in.
early.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Cara and Nicole. That was kind of a thing for a little bit.
that was with Laurel too. The triangle.
Yeah,
Whoever went home in the elimination got with Nicole.
Yes, exactly.
God, nuts. Anything else?
I don't think so.
Well,
I think we did a good job here.
no, I think so too. I think Cara, absolute legend. You know what's even crazier now that I'm looking at her? This was a great podcast to do tonight. Tomorrow's her birthday.
Is it?
Yeah, May 12th. She's turning 38 tomorrow.
I mean, does that mean we have to go for 17 more minutes?
No. Hang them up. Hang them up. So happy early birthday, Cara. We love you. We hope you return back to normal from the post poly. I know she's still. Are they engaged or are they married or anything?
No, I think they're public about having an open relationship.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
Well, that is right. I did forget about that because you know who told me that? Andy told me that because Andy told me that when he went on Pauly and Cara's cruise. And I think when they had their one night out together or whatever, I think it was Pauly, Cara, Jaeger Scott or whatever his name is, and Andy. They were all drinking on the boat, and yeah, I think they said something about that.
I think that's right. And then when Andy got back to the hotel, that's when he hopped on his $800 Zoom call with Derek with the Mohawk.
God, no, that was his. That was the previous month. His $1,800 one was that month.
Yeah, well, he's a platinum challenge pro member.
Oh yeah, doesn't he have a T-shirt with him in like a kangaroo costume or something?
With like a big, then there's one with the big bobblehead.
Yeah, it looks like the Five Nights at Freddy, the characters in that. Like it is just out of control. I think we almost said, I think we commented on one of his things and they got pissed at us because we said, like, seriously, can you show us the numbers of who actually paid for this shit?
Isn't there T-shirts with like fucking like Jimmy on them? Who's buying that?
I mean, I need to know. I need to know. All right. On that note, thank you guys for listening to a brand new Stir the Pod podcast show. I've been your host, Trevor. You can follow us on Twitter at Stir the Pod. You can follow us on Instagram at Stir_the_pod. Thank you guys. Love you guys. Shout out Duffy. Bye-bye.